Okay, so The Long Halloween is something I'll always have fond memories of. Growing up, I read a lot of comics, but as I became a teenager, I got interested in other stuff, like collecting stamps, and it wasn't until my mid-20s that I started to pick them back up again. The Long Halloween was the first book I bought with this renaissance, and I read it cover to cover and absolutely loved it. Before starting out on YouTube, I used to run a website in which I read through every Batman graphic novel and also ranked them. The Long Halloween hit the top 3, only being bested by The Dark Knight Returns and The Cult, and because of this, when the animated movie got announced, I was more worried than Joker's plastic surgeon. I've been holding off on reviewing it until both parts were released, but I'm happy to say that it's one of the best DC animated movies ever. In this video, we're going to be breaking it all down, and it'll be divided into several parts, with the first half talking about the main plot of the work, as well as some of the major comic book changes. If you want to just skip ahead to see us talk about the ending and what happens next, then timecodes as always will be linked below. Now if this is your first time here, then welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and why doesn't Batman have supervision? Because his parents died, eh? Like supervision, eh parent? Never mind. Now I've always considered The Long Halloween to be the rise of the supervillain, and in the movie we watch as the mobsters who run Gotham City for years are slowly ousted by something far more sinister. This motif and theme of the old ways changing is too reflected in Harvey Dent, who we watch go from an upstanding DA to the supervillain Two-Face. Throughout the films, we see as Harvey wrestles with having to slowly break the law and make compromises in order to serve the greater good. This split in his morals makes him split internally, and it's clear that he begins to form his Two-Face persona even before it rears its ugly head, or rather face. Now the central plot of the movie follows the main structure of the graphic novel, and we watch as a killer who strikes on holidays slowly starts to wipe out members of the mob. These are all connected to the Falcone or Maroni crime family, and one by one the net closes in on them as they attempt to get to the bottom of who Holiday is. Now the first major change early on is that Bruce attends Johnny Vidi's wedding at the beginning of the book, and it's revealed that this is to actually spy on the crime boss instead of simply meeting with him to talk about Gotham. This scene in the book was obviously playing on the opening of The Godfather, and the introductions to both Don Corleone and Falcone are framed in very similar lights. Dent can even be found taking photographs of the mobsters' cars, similar to how the authorities did in that movie. Now in the book, right after this, Batman and Catwoman both come face to face in Falcone's penthouse, which is where a ledger is discovered that details all of his criminal activities. It's quite an iconic scene, so I was surprised that they removed it, but I'm guessing that this is because something similar appears to be happening in the upcoming Matt Reeves Batman movie. In the book, Selina wishes to find out if Falcone is her father, but moments like this are removed in order to make this a far more self-contained story. In the comics, Selina actually goes off into a side story called When in Rome, in which she attempts to track down her mother to confirm if the pair are related. In the movie, Selina already knows that Falcone is her father, and she also swiftly avoids kissing Alberto, which, would have been very, very weird. Now this ledger is what leads Batman to the cache, and not Selina, who is the one that takes him there in the film. He and Harvey are the ones that attend it, and Catwoman is much more of an ally in the adaptation. There also isn't a Batmobile chase, as Batman didn't have it at this point, and he doesn't have a fight in a back alley. On the whole, the main book is actually pretty absent of action, with the detective story being the main focus. Now what else gets expanded is the stress that Gilda Dent is subjected to. In the comics, she seems like a pretty normal housewife, but here we really see the absence that Dent leaves in her life due to his work commitments. Gilda can often be found on her porch drinking bottles of wine and smoking cigarettes, and I actually think the movie adds far more motivation to the reveal at the end. Mirroring this, Alberto's arc gets completely changed, and in the comics it was revealed that he was actually Holiday. In the source material after the incident on the boat, it was shown that Alberto actually faked his own death, and that he had been carrying out several of the assassinations, with Gilda doing the others that couldn't be explained. Calendar Man even teased at this in the work by changing the pronouns of he and she when discussing Holiday. Interestingly, Batman never suspected Alberto, and he didn't confront him on New Year's Eve. Instead, Alberto was apparently killed, much like how the others were. However, this was all a ruse. In the movie, we watch as Dent attacks a police convoy, and Batman unmasks to reveal he's one of the SWAT team members. In the book, it was at this moment that he caught Alberto instead, and it does make the ending unpredictable, even if you're familiar with the source material. Now the book teases that Gilda could have been involved in some of the killings, but here the source material is changed massively to pin the entire thing on her. The book never had a relationship between her and Alberto beforehand, and this is made up completely for the animated movie so that we get some surprises. In the source material, Alberto simply wanted to get rid of the family, and Gilda wanted to free up Harvey's work schedule so that they could have a family. The two are completely unconnected, but the film has them as ex-lovers who were split up by Falcone because he viewed her as being the wrong woman. Because Alberto was weak, he decided not to stand up to his dad, and thus he lived filled with regret for the rest of his life. Now we'll talk about that all later on in the video, as I wanted to address the differences first, and in addition to the aforementioned ones, we have Falcone calling Bruce the son that he never had. He and Selina don't have as fleshed out of a relationship, and they don't know one another's secrets. I think this is put in place to reflect how Harvey, Bruce, and Gordon all place their duty above their own happiness, and we see throughout the movie how they suffer because of this. Now whereas in the source material Alberto was driven on a quest for revenge, he is killed by Holiday at the end of part 1. Part 2 feels a lot more in line with the comics, and it opens with the poison ivy spell, which is followed by Bruce's hallucination brought on by Scarecrow. Both appear in the source material, as do the circumstances in which Thomas Wayne saved Carmine, and the courtroom scene that turns Harvey into Two-Face almost happens beat for beat. It's here that we're also introduced to Sophia, who we'll be talking about later on, as she plays a big part in the book's sequel, Dark Victory. After Maroni hands himself in as a witness in order to stage a hearing, he throws acid in Dent's face, and this ushers forth Two-Face. Dent flees the hospital, and after swimming through the sewers and somehow not getting infected, he puts the pieces in place that lead to Maroni getting shot by Holiday. Dent then springs Arkham and rallies the supervillains together in order to replace the Mafia. They attack Gotham, and it all comes to a head at Falcone's penthouse, which is of course where the first movie started. Batman and Catwoman arrive, and the two sides face off against one another. Harvey shoots Falcone after using the coin to decide his fate, and in his dying breath he calls Selina Louisa, which is actually the name of his wife and her mother. Sophia blames the death on her sister Catwoman, and after being thrown out of a window, the ladder seemingly falls to her death. However, in the sequel comic Dark Victory, it's revealed that she's still alive, and she ends up taking over the Falcone organization. Harvey hands himself in, and the ending of part 2 very much feels like a loss, as we see he succumbed to Gotham and what was needed in order to finally take Falcone down. Batman questions if it was worth it, and this pushes him onto a much darker path in which he decides to not work as closely with the authorities. However, he does come around after taking Dick Grayson under his wing, and the follow-up is very much about bringing Bruce back into the light so that he can trust people once more. The film ends with Batman visiting Gilda, and unlike the comics, he finds out that she was behind the Holiday killings. She burns photographs of herself and Alberto, knowing that Carmine destroyed both of her relationships. It turns out that she and Alberto were married, but Falcone refused to bring a child into the family that was conceived out of wedlock. Their marriage was annulled, and the child was taken from Gilda's womb. Because of this, she wanted justice and purposely married Dent in order to deliver this. She recognized the darker side within him, but when she realized nothing could be done legally, she started the killings herself. Batman ends up wrestling with whether to tell Gordon or not, and Gilda's fate is left ambiguous. In the book, she moves away, and because we don't hear from her, I think Batman does let her go. He realizes that it's gonna take time before things start to get better, and we see that a young child has been inspired by Batman, possibly hinting at a brighter future coming in Gotham. Now the post-credit scene has Green Arrow and the Flash arrive at Wayne Manor, and though this movie was thought to be disconnected from the greater universe, it does look like things could be heading in a certain direction going forward. They have likely come to form the Justice League, and it is possible that this will lead into him joining the team. I've also seen Screen Rant say that it is possible that they are actually there from the Injustice universe, which is the next animated movie. In that book and game series, heroes travelled from a world in which Superman had turned evil in order to recruit people from the multiverse to stop him. Potentially, they're here to do that, though I do lean more towards it simply being that they want him to start the team. Now at this point going forward, I am going to be spoiling Dark Victory and what happens next, so if you don't want to know, then turn off now. If you're enjoying the video, I'd massively appreciate the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this each and every day. Swear to me you'll do it, yeah? Swear to me! I've always got to have a really bad part of the video, and that was that part. Now after the events of the long Halloween, the killings start once more, but this time they're against the police. carried out by a mysterious figure named the Hangman, Gotham PD is ravaged, and due to the ambiguity around Alberto's crime, he's put under house arrest. The Calendar Man escapes and ends up sneaking into his house, and he talks to him through the walls, which sends him insane. During this, the Flying Graysons are killed, and Dick ends up joining Bruce in order to stop the Hangman. Sophia is seemingly wheelchair bound, but it's revealed that this is all a ruse and that she can actually walk. She carries out the hangings in order to get revenge, and it leads to Dick and Bruce becoming Batman and Robin after they take her down. Bruce very much saw Harvey as betraying him, but in Dick he sees there is good in the world, and who knows, the kid at the end might even be retconned to be him. Now there's a lot to look forward to, and I really hope that they follow this movie up with a sequel, as I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of the strongest adaptations so far, and the noir feeling perfectly suits Batman to a T. Both part 1 and part 2 are brilliant, and because of that it gets a 9 out of 10. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie, and if you've also read the book then let me know what you preferred. Just to let you know, we're running a competition right now and giving away 3 MCU box sets on the 30th of July. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the films. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you then message me on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch then make sure you check out our breakdown of why Sylvie was right at the end of Loki. Very controversial topic, but I've thought about it long and hard, and I actually side with what she did. If not, then thank you for sitting until the end of the video. I hope to see you next time, and take care of yourself. Peace.